All right. Fastest 15 minutes on the internet, fastest 15 minutes in social media. My name is Judson Powell. All right. I want to talk a little bit about male and females and relationships and all that kind of good stuff. And let me preface that by saying, look, I've been married 3 times. I'm on my 3rd marriage. I've been, twice divorced. So I don't want y'all to think that this advice is coming on, or that I'm being judgmental. I guess that's what I want to say, because I'm not perfect, and of course neither is anybody else. But there is some stuff going around out there right now, and the reason why a lot of it is going around is because of some stuff that's going on across the internet, and there's been a lot of people that have been chiming in on it as what is the role of men and women, and then also in those roles, who's responsible and who's not responsible. So I got in an argument with this guy. Make a long story short, I got in an argument with this guy, which I try not to do. I try not to argue with anybody on the internet because I realize that a lot of times people don't level up or know really a lot about what they're talking about. They just in their feelings. And so I ran across this guy. He was definitely in his feelings. And so he was like writing an open letter to his woman on the internet, which which we didn't have that back when I was his age. So, I'm a 60s baby. So if y'all really want to know, I'm a 60s baby. Grew up in the 70s, blah, 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 blah. Been through the 80s, the 90s, the 2000s, and now the 2020s. And so I'm just letting y'all know, the first thing is that the gender roles, especially since, we've moved away from spirituality and have moved into religion, pretty much as a whole. I mean, I realize there are a lot of people that don't subscribe to religion, but then again, most of the standards that are set by religion. And so people look at it from the religious standpoint. But when you go back and you look at our ancestors, Cush, our ancestors in Ethiopia, our ancestors in Kemet, etc., as we go back and we look, there were always very strong women. And one of the things that I always point out, especially with Kemetic art, is like if you look at the art in Kemet, there was always a woman there that was supporting, the man, or in most cases, the queen supporting the pharaoh. The game of chess, the queen is the strongest person on the board. Everybody's trying to get the king, but the bottom line is that the woman is the protector, is more so the protector. There's always, go and look up some statues and some, some stuff, and you'll see there's always the woman with her hand wrapped around the man's waist, holding him up. And then the chair or the throne, there's a lot of artwork that shows that the throne was always on top of the woman's head. And spirituality-wise, it breaks down to something like this. Spirituality-wise, it breaks down to the point of you have gotten rid of the feminine aspect. And so women, but see, in their femininity, they weren't like these women are today. They were different because they were there as a support and a comfort system. Because here's the thing, the woman represents the spiritual side, and the man represents the spiritual side. I mean, not the spirit, but the material side. That's what I meant to say. Okay, so men manifest the stuff. That's our job. Our job is as manifestors, right? So we manifest. We are manifestors, and so or hunter gatherers, however you want to put it. That's what we are, because we're put here to deal with the strategic parts, of gathering the things that we need in the house. The woman's job is to stay spiritually connected, and also to pass that spiritual connection on to the generations or the children, however you want to say it. So that then and that spiritually, that was the job. But and the woman and the man never stepped on the woman's toes, and the woman never stepped on the man's toes. In other words, have you ever like especially I pose this to the men, have you ever had like your wife will tell you something and she'll be very adamant about it? Well, 9 times out of 10, if she's that adamant about it, the reason why she's adamant about it is because the spiritual world has talked to her or has given her a clue or has given her, like when they always talk about women's intuition, or how a mother can know that her child is in trouble, or all of those kind of things. Well, that's why. And it takes us a lot longer till we can access these spiritual things that women can very easily. But now, when it comes to doing things in the material world, if it comes down to we gotta, plant crops, harvest crops, build shelter, the things that take place in the material world, then that's more on us, because a woman ain't gonna go out there. Well, she shouldn't go out there and be chopping trees. And then you got these. I know y'all done seen the videos running around the internet about the guy, sitting in the car while the woman pumps the gas and all those kind of things. Well, basically stuff like that. It really 100% should not be going on. Because that's not something that that women do. Now, I will say, and it also depends on the race, and it also depends on the culture, because I see Latino women, they work hard. They'll get out there and they'll do everything. But whereas a lot of times black women will not, they're not going to do certain things, especially around the house. And y'all might get mad at me saying that, but it's true. Y'all not gonna go. Most black women ain't gonna go out and cut the grass, or wash the windows or stuff like that. They're not gonna do that kind of stuff, or keep the grounds of the house. But there's also the thing that that's a point of pride, and it should be a point of pride for the man, which is another thing that goes on in our communities, because a lot of times our communities are all jacked up and everything like that. Why is that like that? Why don't we go out and take the hood and clean the hood up? We always blaming the white man and stuff like that, but the stuff that we have, which is in our custodial care, we don't take care of. So that's very important. But it's our fault. It's not anybody else's fault. Okay, because, and I never forget, riding up the East Coast was where I really like Baltimore and Boston and certain cities. As you go up the East Coast, you start seeing white hood slums. You see poor places where poor white people live, and they're immaculate. But who does that? They do. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that, and then everybody is coming out there, and it is true. The whole thing about being, everybody has it kind of wrong about the whole equally yoked thing. But even when it's like equally yoked, then what are your things that you require, and what are the things that women require? As a man, what do you require? And as a woman, what do you require? And in fact, if there is such thing as dating or courting, as my wife would say, if there's anything such as courting and dating are in contemplation of marriage, and you should be asking questions. You should be interviewing. That really, courting and dating should be a long interview process. But in many times, because of the way that the society is, we just take it as, okay, I'm trying to hit that, I'm trying to get it. And I'm curious, I'm just as guilty. I'm not saying that I'm any better than anybody else, but in the long term, that should be a question and answer thing. It should be an interview process. How many kids do you want? Where do you want to live? How do you want to live? Because a lot of times those are not the questions that we ask, or not. Those are the things that we don't discuss. Because what do they always say? Because when you go out on the first date, everybody they put together their representative. You don't meet that person. You really don't meet that person until much later on down the line. Because that first couple of dates, they're gonna put up their best. They're gonna put their best foot forward. They're not gonna sit up there and be like, oh, whatever. Oh yeah, I leave my underwear in the middle of the floor, and I never clean the bathtub when I get out, and I pee all over the toilet seat, and I leave the toilet seat up, and I come home. If dinner is at 6 o'clock, I come home at 8:30 after I've been out at the bar with the fellas, and blah 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 blah. You're not going. So the bottom line is, you get their representative. You get the person that's perfect. So that interview process is important. It's highly important, and people I guess don't really see that, or don't really know about that, and so they get in it and it's like, okay. And especially women, because y'all are more emotional and we're more practical, you get caught up in your feelings. And then when he don't do what you expect, your feelings are hurt. And and I'm not trying to say that no men get caught up in their feelings, because men do get caught up in their feelings, but it's a whole different story. Because what? Because they gotta pull out their patriarchal masculine thing, or whatever y'all call it, toxic masculinity now, but they can't show, because we're not taught to show our feelings. That's just not something that we're taught to do. We're taught to to keep those feelings on reserve, and don't let them out until it's got to be something that really, really hurts you. But but a woman ain't supposed to be the thing that really, really hurts you. So that's another disparity that we have in the way we have a viewpoint. Now, what my man on the internet is talking about all the time, though, because the new terminology is high value man, high value woman. Well, once again, going back to the concept of equally yoked. Well, how you gonna get a high value woman if you're not a high value man, unless she settles? And the same thing works in reverse. And the other thing is, and then what are the things, because everybody has a different definition. That's why you got to go through that dating, courting, interview process, because your definition might be different from his, and his might be different from yours. Ladies, you have no idea unless you ask. And then if you ask and the person is not honest, that's all you can do. Only thing you can do is try to ask. And then if the person is not honest and is not forthcoming with you or anything like that, then you got a problem, because they're dishonest from the jump. So that's a major problem, and it should be. And if you doing your interview process, that should be, if lies between one another and all that kind of stuff within the interview process, that should be a red flag, and that red flag should go up quickly. And now we got a lot of women, and then I guess I'll make a part two, because I'm gonna run out of time. But the other thing is the whole job and education factor and all this kind of stuff, because women seem to be, I'm not saying that is 100% true, but women seem to be more educated, have better positions, better jobs and everything. But most of that is because of what? Systemic racism. They have a much easier time, if a woman goes to the welfare department, they're going to hook her up. If a man goes to the welfare department, they're going to say, go out and get a job and get the hell out of here. Even if he is working, the chances of somebody coming along and helping him are not great. Chances of somebody coming along to help the damsel in distress are pretty good. But we'll talk some more about that next time. Anyway, fastest 15 minutes is up. My name is Judson Powell. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, but most of all, hit the love button.